Welcome back to the news at 10. The Ondo State Governor, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, has been visiting the site of the bank robbery that occurred a few days ago, promising that his administration will put in place adequate measures to prevent such incidents in the future. Governor Mimiko also commiserated with the Nigerian police and the families of those who lost their lives in the ugly robbery attack. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Isaac Eke, has also been explaining what took place on that fateful day.
It is a revolting attack that still makes many shiver. At the end of the robbery in Ikare Akoko, a commercial center in northern Ondo State, 20 people, including 4 police officers, lay dead. The Ondo State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Isaac Eke, explains what transpired on that day.
We were expecting that. We were expecting because they earlier made an attempt before the Xmas, and 4 of them made their Waterloo. They went and re-strategized and came in a very large number. Very large number. In fact, first of all, the attack at the station. And their mode of coming was by using dynamite and sporadic shooting.
The Ondo State Governor, Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, accompanied by top government functionaries in the state, visits the bank. He promises the government will re-strategize and ensure that a thorough investigation is done so as to be able to put in place adequate measures to repel such attacks in the future. He also noted that there was a similar attack in the area 2 years ago, and this prompted government to put some measures in place to protect the lives and property of the residents. Also, Mimiko commiserates with the Nigerian police and the families of civilians on the loss of some officers and loved ones in the robbery.
We have come to assess the situation. We're going to go back to re-strategize to ensure that we do a thorough analysis of this attack and put in place measures, further measures to ensure that we'll be in a position to resist. We had an attack like this 2 years ago. Based on that, we put a lot of measures in place, including military checkpoints, including armored personnel carriers, and fast response policemen.
Governor Mimiko thereafter visited the palace of the paramount ruler of the town, Oba Akadiri Momo, to sympathize with him on the unfortunate incident.
As the nation continues to grapple with the challenge of insurgency in the northeast, the role expected to be played by Northern elders has again been emphasized. The special advisor to the president on Niger Delta affairs, Kingsley Kuku, says Northern elders are key to resolving the matter with full cooperation with the federal government. Mr. Kuku, who spoke when he received the leadership of the National Association of Nigerian Students in Abuja, pointed out that the government and the military alone cannot solve the crisis.
Fighting issue is that the leaders of northern Nigeria, particularly those from those areas, whose communities and people are perpetually affected, those who are playing politics among them with Boko Haram should stop. In any case, it was the politics we started that caused all this trouble. If we had worked together as a people to say, no, this will not happen, and work with security agencies, it will work. In the Niger Delta too, soldiers were everywhere shooting gun. It never ended the thing. It can't work. If the leaders, religious community leaders, political leaders, ex-military generals, present military generals from that area refuse to own their community and their heritage, you will not get the right information. You will not get the right intelligence. You won't get the right intervention at the right time. That is why most times military can get to a place when the people committing havoc had left. Every Nigerian has hope that my brothers from northern Nigeria are the people who are putting suicide bomb inside their body to go and die with people is a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. To date, I refuse to believe it, and I am telling you that 90% of the people arrested by the military, even these ones that just happened 2 days ago, they said they were mostly Shadians.
Elsewhere, the Minister of Power, Professor Chinedu Nebo, has been giving reasons for the drop in electricity generation from 4,500 megawatts, which has worsened the power supply in the country. According to the minister, this is due to the constant vandalism of gas pipelines, with gas-powered plants being more vulnerable. Professor Nebo, who spoke to Channels Television in Abuja, said that in the meantime, government is planning a digital monitoring of the pipelines to check the sabotage.
Government realizing that gas-fired turbines, which are the cheapest, the most robust, the more easily accessible, and the more easily emplaced in any such situation as Nigeria's, are prone to vandalism of the gas pipelines. For instance, it's so painful for me as Minister of Power that any time we hit the threshold of 4,500 megawatts and stay there for weeks, they vandalize the gas pipelines. When these pipelines were made, there was no digital monitoring mechanism. Today, it is not like that. Going back to emplace a digital sensoring or monitoring or surveillance system is very expensive, but we have to do it. It's not something government can do overnight. These things need to be budgeted for. The government has gone beyond that, and that is why we are working very hard to ensure that there is a robust energy or fuel mix.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to Business News. I am Adeshewa Josh. The Central Bank of Nigeria has denied shortage of liquidity in the currency market, rejecting JP Morgan's reason for putting the status of Nigerian bonds on the review. According to the CBN governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, the liquidity in the market is adequate for the volume of trading. He expressed confidence that the Naira would adjust within the bank's target of 5% plus or minus 168 to the dollar. JP Morgan had placed Nigeria's government bond index on a negative watch on Friday, citing lack of liquidity in the local forex and bond market as its reasons. Now, Nigeria joined the JP Morgan bond list of emerging markets last year with the listing of FGN's bonds, making it the second African country after South Africa to be included in the widely followed index. It added Nigeria's 2014, 2019, 2022, and 2024 bonds, which make up 1.8% of the GBI-EM Global Diversified Index. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry is calling on the federal government and the National Assembly to review the expenditure structure of the national budget. President of the Chamber, Remi Bello, made this demand at a briefing organized specifically on the appropriation bill in Lagos. According to him, the bill, which he says is at variance with the urgent need to diversify the economy, also contains an unrealistic oil price benchmark.
The concern about the structure of the appropriation is that it is at variance with the urgent imperative of economic diversification and austerity measures. Economic diversification requires a critical mass of investment in infrastructure. In spite of the pronouncement of the austerity measure, personnel costs increased by 6.3%. A sincere commitment to the regime of austerity measures, cost reduction and economic diversification calls for a major review of the expenditure structure by the National Assembly. We know the benchmark of $65 per barrel proposed by the executive in the budget. We submit that given the current reality of the global oil market, this benchmark assumption is too optimistic.
Now let's check out how the Nigerian stock market fared this week. Key indicators of the market ended the week in negative territory in spite of gains recorded on Thursday and Friday. The all-share index shed 3.68% to end the week at 29,034.89. And the market capitalization also depreciated by 3.09% to 9.67 trillion naira. Percentage-wise, Julius Berger, Dangote Flour, and Diamond Bank were the top three losers for the week. On the other hand, investors favored the shares of Presco, UACN, and Qtix. And at the end of all the week, total value of equities traded came in at 16.58 billion naira, staked on 1.66 billion shares, and exchanged in 23,591 deals. An Ivory Coast commercial court has ordered EcoBank Transnational Incorporated to pay $15 million in damages to former chief executive Thierry Tannot. The board of EcoBank had removed Mr. Tannot in March last year and replaced him with his then deputy Albert Essien after months of turmoil over corporate governance and leadership at one of the biggest financial institutions in sub-Saharan Africa. And at the time, the crisis was seen as a test case for regulators that put a spotlight on the integrity of Africa's financial institutions. Mr. Tannot denied all allegations and took his case to the commercial court. Mr. Tannot had initially sought $30 million in damages, but court granted him only $15 million. And finally, on Business News tonight, the price of oil is looking better. It has jumped with more than 5% on Friday, boosted by the response to a bullish report on consumer sentiment, with crude oil futures settled up $2.44, up 5.3% at $48.69 a barrel. The contract ended the week 0.7% higher, marking its first weekly gain in 7. Brent crude futures for March were last up about $2 at $50 a barrel. And the University of Michigan released a report showing consumer sentiment at its highest level in more than a decade, thanks to low gasoline prices and job gains. And some analysts say while the report was definitely bullish, it was not enough to balance out the rest of the world's diminishing demand. Meanwhile, in China, which is the second largest oil consumer, there were signs of weakness as the central bank announced new support measures after data showed a drop in bank lending and foreign investment growth falling to a 2-year low. And that's Business News tonight. The news at 10 continues in a moment.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Chelsea trashed Swansea 5-0 to go 5 points clear at the top of the English Premier League. That's on Sports News. Please stay with us.